Hey guys, and welcome back to Front Boards and Four Baggers, episode 17. I'm Eddie from Cornhole Bag Reviews, and we got Corbin from Corbin's Cornhole Reviews, and another special guest this week. We got ACL Pro Matt Ryan, the Draggin Bagz player, Sodak Scrub, repping the merch. Really local guy to South Dakota here. I just played with him this last weekend at the Triple Crown and hung out with him a little bit. And so we wanted to get him on here, talk about Draggin a little bit, give Matty some love with Draggin, and then talk a little bit about Matt's rookie season and how he's come up joining in the ACL now and what that's like. So Matt, appreciate you joining us today, man.
Yeah, appreciate you having me, man. It's going to be a good time, I think.
Well, we'll start out, me and Corbin can't get through any conversation without talking about bags / reviews of bags and what they're like. So we figured we'd talk a little bit about Draggin. I've thrown all of Dragin's bags, except for the Genomes, his new version he's come out with. But we're going to talk about a couple of the ones that are kind of in your arsenal that you've really come to throw this year. I know the RNAs, your babies, those are kind of like your always go-tos, but you've really started to enjoy the doubles now, this nice carpet bag. So we'll start out with the doubles. We're looking at like a 4 to 6, 7 on the speed carpet bag. You got the fast side is the RNA slow side, and then $90 plus shipping price point. But so you being a high launch fast bag player, what has the double done that's kind of been enjoyable for you as a carpet bag? Because usually those players don't mix.
Yeah. Well, this is when I very first started throwing bags. What was it? Pro Z's. I don't know if any of you guys remember what a Pro Z was.
Yeah, sir.
Well, that's all. So it was basically like a duck cloth on the one end, and the fast side was, I don't even know what you compare this. I mean, that's, I don't know, maybe it was a 6 or 7 on the fast side. That maybe, I don't know. Anyways, but so I always used to throw that slow side down all the time. So just that low line, harder throw. And but then I would say after a few years of doing that, that's when I kind of switched over going to like a faster bag and use those the BG Slicksters actually at the time. That was fast side. And again, I'd never really touched the fast side. It was always still that slow side. But then I learned how to kind of when to use that fast side. And then actually I got into a blind draw at the Sanford Pentagon tournament, and I got partnered up with J.R. Hofer, one of the Triple Crown guys. And he would always he was throwing game changers at that time. And I'm like, man, I hate
everyone's throwing those damn things.
I'm like, so we tried mine, and I mean, he was struggling. I'm like, all right, man. I said, let me try these game changers. I'll give them a shot. And I was throwing the patch side, and he's like, come on, you got to throw the man side. I'm like, he's like, flip it over, throw the fast side. I'm like, oh man. So the first couple of games we got, but then I just had to learn how to, really a finesse throw, right? Like get that nice high arch, hit the middle of the board, flattened out, and it just went in the hole. I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, this is almost like too easy. And that's from that point on, I threw the man side of the game changer. I was a game changer guy after that tournament, and it was messed up. I'm like, I don't know how this is happening, but it just did. And so anyways, long story short. So yeah, I threw the fast side of the game changers for the longest time. And so that's kind of, I learned how to throw that finesse, and I kind of got away from throwing that low line, hard throw. Right. And so then I ended up the way I got throwing these Draggin Bagz now. I partnered up with Justin Lang at a tournament earlier this year in Worthington, another Triple Crown tournament. And he was obviously signed with Draggin as well. And he was throwing the RNAs. So I'm like, yeah, all right. Yeah, I'll give him a shot. And I threw them. I'm like, geez, these are pretty darn similar. I mean, they felt pretty similar to a game changer. Maybe not quite as big and floppy, but they were still a nice fill. The fast side is almost identical. I think.
Same. Yep.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, that fast side is, and then the slower side, I actually enjoyed throwing that more than I like the real fast side. So I started throwing them, and then that's how this whole Draggin thing came about, right? So I played with Justin Lang randomly in a tournament. We played really well together. And Matty King, I told him, I said, hey man, I said, you need to, I messaged him. I said, you need to get me hooked up with a set of these RNAs. And he comes back with, well, you signed with anybody for this next year? I'm like, no. And he's like, how about you want to come to the Draggin team? And I kind of sat there and I left him on read for about 20 minutes. I'm like, oh man, like I haven't thrown nothing but game changers in probably 2 years. Right. And so I was like, oh gosh, like I really like my game changers. I know what I can do and what I can't do with them. And I had that bag down, and, I'm like, heck, you know what? Let's do it. I'll do it. I can throw these RNAs are real similar to the game changer anyway. And that's kind of how that got started. And so then anyways, he came out with these double dragons. I gave them a try, and they've got a nice, dude, honestly, they feel really good. And especially for like a carpet bag, they're a bit floppier for a carpet bag.
They are.
Yeah. And like I said, I like throwing that slow side of the RNAs, and that's what the fast side of the dragons is. So I was always just throwing that fast side, and I didn't really play around with the carpet a whole lot. And then when I partner up with Ashley Wicca, she does, and for co-ed, she's got a nice hard throw, and she likes a slower bag. So that's kind of our bag that we throw together is those double dragons. She can throw that carpet, and I'll throw that fast side. So that's what we have found together. And that's like, if I play with any of these other guys that throw carpets, like, hey man, I can, like, not a huge carpet thrower, right? But I can throw these.
Mm-hmm. And you can still work them for sure. I've definitely seen a couple of the Draggin team members that play out in California or whatever, throwing the rolls, throwing the cuts with them pretty easily. And it's good you get Wicca to throw that one, because she's a swag bag emerald player, and like, I know you'd rather throw the doubles. So
yeah. Well, we'll talk about that later. But we'll away from that. But anyways,
but I'm the same way on the doubles, man. Me and Corbin both throw carpet. He's more of a carpet than I am, but I enjoy carpet. The thing that I really loved about the doubles is, like, I felt like my problem with carpet sometimes is if I get lazy and the carpet starts kicking on me, then it's really hard for me to focus up. But the doubles really didn't kick much. Like, they were super hole friendly, and they just kind of went really straight, but I could still cut them if I needed to and do stuff with them if I needed to. But on crazy fast boards, they were just a great speed. They weren't too quick, because I feel like the RNAs, at least for me, this weekend, they would have been great because the boards are slow, but my boards are so dang fast, I couldn't keep RNAs on the board. Like, they're just so quick. But that's where the doubles really came in mind.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that too. And that's the other thing too, is like, there was a tournament that I was like, well, I'm going to just try to throw these double dragons, and I want to just try to throw just the carpet. And starting off the tournament, I was throwing great. Halfway through the tournament, I noticed that I'm like, oh, my goodness, I'm just kind of like, I'm leaving them a little short, or I'm trying to, and I was kind of getting out of my game. And what it was is I was getting lazy with my throws. Right. I wasn't finishing my throws, and it just screwed up my whole game. Like, I was having a hard time pushing. Like, I was just, I could hit my airmails, but I couldn't. I was having a hard time pushing, and I was just getting lazy. And then, so I think that's the fatigue, man. I'm telling you, some of these guys that throw super hard, and they can do that for all day long at a tournament. My gosh, I can't imagine how they feel the next day. Because I've kind of turned into a wussy boy, and I throw these finesse bags, and it just. I don't know, man. It's definitely a different style of throwing for sure.
Well, and it's like, I watched a player this weekend throwing the Neptunes, and every throw he's like full whipping the bag, like as hard as he can, and the bag is just to get it there. And I'm like, man, that'd be tough for me to do for a whole day.
Right. Well, and that's the thing too, is like, I go from those doubles, and it's like, sometimes I'm like, oh gosh, that one's gone. It's like, it's like hardly gets up the board. I'm like, oh my God, okay. Here we go. Like, now what are we going to do? Like, I put up a blocker on unintentionally, but hey, it's sitting good. But you just got to remember, you can throw those a little harder, and they're going to stay on the board.
Mm-hmm. That is the perk.
It's just, but in your mind and in your muscle memory, as long as I've been throwing those faster bags, it's tough to kind of go back and forth.
100%. And then I guess the real question is Gen 1 or Gen 2 or Gen 3 game changers. What were you throwing?
I was throwing the Gen 2s.
Okay. I threw against a dude throwing Gen 1s in singles yesterday. And I was telling Corbin this. I had my last bag, like he threw his last bag. And I literally had to step back because I was laughing so hard at what those bags would just do every round. It was like every round I was like, he airmailed, it missed the hole deep, hit the board and slid back down slowly and went in the hole. And I'm like, what am I witnessing? This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. 65-year-old guy just murdering me with game changers.
I bet it was one of the West River guys. It had to have been like
is Brett, I think.
Brett Eggleston.
Yeah, he just murdered me. It's just like, what am I watching? He's throwing right to left cuts, left to right cuts. I'm like, these things have magnets to whatever he's got to do.
There were his orange ones, weren't they?
Well, these were his red, or maybe they were orange. They were so red ones. Yeah.
him and those other guys. I mean, like Lonnie and Ruben, theirs are orange. They've got some orange. Oh yeah, those guys are tough. That's that's they're not lying when they say they get some guys in their 60s coming up with game changers. You better bring your damn A game. Put a blocker.
You better be scared.
Up.
We said this in a podcast, and I've said this to people. If you see two 60-year-old dudes walk up to a board with a dirty set of game changers, you're screwed.
You're so screwed.
Like, your block game better be on, and if you're a fast break player, you better learn how to throw a block real fast.
Right. Because you ain't gonna be able to keep up with those guys, man. They just stroking it
up the middle every time. But I guess that leads a bit into the RNAs. I know Corbin, you got a set of RNAs, but that's more of the 6.8 speed, more of the Costello speed range, that kind of all slide speed range, but like not super wide like the game changer, but still crazy hole friendly. The 6 material, that's the fast side of the double as well. The reason I want to give mad props to Matty King is he's one of the only companies I know of right now that's using a material that I've never seen before, in terms of like no one else is using that herringbone fast 6 material that I've never seen anybody. And it plays so good. And so the fact that like the Bagsmith himself, coming up with another one, but the fast side, and he would get mad at me if I didn't say this, but the fast side's the OG Razor material, because I said it was the game changer material, and he commented on my post. It's like, no, that's the OG Razor material. I was like, all right, so that's OG Razor fast side, right? But $80 plus shipping on the website, so super affordable. But obviously this is your go-to bag. So why is this your go-to bag? I mean, I guess it's the transition from the game changer, but are you able to throw that slow side now? Or are you mostly on the fast side, or what's kind of your play style with those?
Honestly, I'm probably throwing the slow side on that more than I am even the fast side. And I can't tell you why I kind of switched over to doing that, but it's comfortable. I mean, I can throw that fast, especially what I like about it too, is if the boards do slow up a little bit, then I can just throw it over that fast side and throw it the same as I had been throwing with the slow side on regular boards, So it's pretty like that, hole friendly. And it was just an easy transition for me.
No, 100%. Not knowing that you were a game changer player makes a lot of sense why you throw RNAs. But I mean, I would say that's why the majority of the ACL in general throws fast bags. I mean, it's just, you got to get them near the hole and they just go in. And most of the ACL players, you're racing almost every game. You're just 4-bagging. So doing that with carpet's going to be a lot more difficult than doing it with a RNA type bag or something along those lines. So
right,
makes a lot of sense. But I'm glad you seem to be throwing really, really well with those bags. I really enjoyed my time with those bags. Corbin's actually got the set that I had before, so I already broke it in for him and everything. He doesn't have to do all that work. But no. But I'd love to transition a little bit into the backstory. So, Corbin, you want to take his backstory a little bit, like how he got into it and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have an outline, but yeah.
You like fly by the seat of your pants. Let's go.
But let me tell you.
So, I mean, were you a backyard player? Did you see it on TV? Did you, stumble upon it at a party? Like, what actually got you into it?
Okay, well, this how this happened. So, like, I used to play, like, we would go camping, right? It was few times a year, summertime, maybe in a backyard here or there. But actually, so my partner that I had first started with, Stu Teal, him and I worked together, right? And so we worked 4 10-hour days. We had Fridays off, and we were just big trash talkers. We'd always, it didn't matter what we were talking about. Well, somehow Cornhole got brought up. See, he said he was pretty good. And I'm like, dude, come on now. Like, who you're talking to, right? Like, I got you. And I said, let's play. So we got into playing and killed me, dude. He was throwing the flat bag and I'm sitting here balling it up, trying to bowl it down there. And I was just like, holy man. And so we had Fridays off. I'm like, yeah, we should see if we could find like a league around town or something, like, I'm like, you have to teach me how to do that, And so we called, and sure enough, there was a league like literally a block away from me at this bar, right? And Stu and I, we lived within a half a mile of each other. And it was a Sunday afternoon league. So I'm like, all right, well, let's just go check it out and see what happens. I said, you're really good. And I said, I can keep them on every, I thought I was doing all right. We walked in there and just, it wasn't a lot of people, right? But we went 0-2 like every single time for about 2 months. And I'm like, dude, okay, this, enough of this. Like, I'm a good sport. Trust me. I don't like to lose. Nobody likes to lose, right? That's why we're all playing. We play to have a good time, sure. But at the same time, I'm like, dude, okay, this is not happening. Like, I don't like losing. We got to figure out something. And so like I said, we worked 4 10-hour days. So we had Fridays off, and our Fridays, man, our kids went to the same daycare. At the time, we each had just one. We'd drop our kids off right away in the morning. He'd come over. I'd go to his place. We'd set them up in the front yard. That's all we did. All we did. And it was corn. They were corn bags, with dust flying everywhere. But Stu had a nice flat bag. I'm like, so I mimicked him. I couldn't get it. That's the hardest part, is to get that flat bag going. But like I tell all these new people that start coming up, I'm like, this is the deal. I don't care if you're not even hitting the board right now. Like, just try to get as flat a bag as you can. And then you can work on your accuracy, putting it on the board, putting them in the hole, and then all this other strategy stuff. Like, a lot of these people are like, well, they're spoiled for one, I'll say, because a lot of these bags, like the game changers, I can see why they call them cheater bags, because you don't have to throw a completely flat bag and they'll just flatten out when they hit the board and they'll go right on up, right?
Vertical.
Yep.
You can throw it vertically.
It can be like this. It doesn't matter.
I tell all these people, like, what kind of bags we should get? I'm like, okay, this is the deal. I wouldn't buy any bags right now, but let's find a bag that's like, almost like a duck cloth, a super slow bag. I said, you learn to throw that flat and get going up the board straight. And then I said, then we can play around with other bags. I said, but at this point, it's just like, you need to work on getting a flat bag. It doesn't have to be like Matt guy, his bag isn't super flat, right? No. But it's not like you have to have super flat, but you can't be throwing it like, balling it up and just throwing the dang or it flying in the air, like a kite, especially if you're playing outside, you're done for. The wind catches it. See you later.
Yep.
So anyway, long story short, that's how we got into playing. It was just me and a buddy just kind of dinked around one time. And then I said, hey, let's, he kicked my butt, and we found a league. And then we won one, probably after a couple of months, we won one, and then we made it to another round. And then I was starting to get better, and Stu was already pretty dang good. I just got him out of the house last week for the first time since probably April of last year. And mind you, him and I had played probably the first 6 years together, or me playing. And he's just kind of fallen off the last couple of years. He's got a kid that, they've got activities and stuff going on, and he just kind of getting out of it a little bit. We went in there and just like, it was just like he hadn't quit playing. He hadn't picked up a bag in 8 months, and everybody's like, Stu, what is he doing here? And everybody knows who Stu is, like, in our area, and I know a lot of, like Juan and Chico, it's kind of, how like Juan and Chico, that they're partnering up, right?
Yeah.
Those guys are always partnering. Well, we're the Juan and Chico of South Dakota, me and Stu.
Makes sense. But that was the point I was you just mentioned it. But I mean, this has been like a 7-year process. It's not like you started playing 6 months ago. Like, I mean, you started from literally ground zero and just been kind of dinking away, grinding your way up until the point now where you're like, trying to do this as a thing,
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, short story on it, it's kind of like one of those things, like, got to be pretty good around here. And we do have a lot of good players around here. But and it sounds bad, like, I don't want to sound conceited or anything, but you get to a certain point, right? And I felt like I've kind of like, kind of leveled off, like, just because, like, I was at the top and I didn't really have anybody else to chase anymore after that, right? In our area on a consistent basis. Sure, other people would come in and maybe they'd win, or it would be a tough match, but it's like I didn't get to play those guys on a consistent basis, So, but now over the last couple of years, we've got a lot of new guys coming up, and they've been playing really, really well. And some of the older guys, it's pushing their level up, like, and we're getting better in our area. But I think, obviously, I still think that we're like probably 10 years behind the, East Coast and stuff.
I think Minnesota's the same. I mean, like, same with like the weekend we were just at with Triple Crown, like, a lot of really good throwers there. Not saying there wasn't. Yeah. I mean, I didn't win. I mean, I made the money in one event, but I mean, it's not like I was crushing people, but I mean, I was talking to Jimmy Cobb and Tyler Humans. I was like, if you come in the area and throw consistent block rolls the whole day, you'll murder all of us. Like, we're just not at that tier of Virginia, North Carolina, Florida, like all these other places that just have echelon. Even Corbin's area has like 25 plus pro, like ACL pros in it. That it's just like, where it's like every week you're going to a blind draw that it's like 20 pros there, where it's like you're just used to playing against pros on pros every day.
You need that. that's what I say. You need to keep playing people that are better than you. That's how you're going to get better. You know?
I love it.
I don't want to say that I lost my fire, you know, but it's like I almost was kind of, I don't want to say bored with it because I wasn't getting bored, but it was just for a while there, Stu and I would show up and I'm like, well, what are you going to do with your money? You know, we knew we were winning. Like we just knew we were going to come and we were going to win.
I like getting my ass kicked because it makes me get the fire back under me to throw harder again, like to actually try, you know?
100%, man. That's why, I'm really looking forward to this year for my first year being a pro and stuff. I've already, you know, been put in my place already multiple times. And I mean, it's humbling, you know, I'm like, oh boy. Yeah. Like I have a long way to go. Sometimes I'm sitting here thinking like, what in the hell am I even doing? Like these guys are really good, you know, but like, I know that I can be really good too. I just have to be consistent. And that's what I think a lot of people's problem is you can show out for one game, right? But can you do that over the course of 8-hour day of throwing?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And these ACL events, people don't realize, like, especially during rounders, you got 6 rounds of rounders and the bracket and stuff. You could be sitting for an hour in between games because they got to get 6 rounds of rounders done on 30 courts for like X hundred people, you know, at an event. So like, not only is it an 8-hour day, but can you pace yourself, stay warm the whole time, like stay mentally like tough to like, oh, you got to play against Ryan Windsor in an hour and a half from now. Okay. Are you going to be your best self in an hour and a half? Like that's a long time for you to wait between games. Like, are you going to be there? I mean, and that's just the grind. And I know you played with Ryan Windsor this weekend at doubles. And I know me and you had a conversation in between where I think you were being a little too hard on yourself. I think you're worried that you were like, you know, not, but I think all these people that, especially anybody that's coming up or a rookie needs to realize is you guys are good enough to play. And now it's just about getting that experience. I just think it's the experience thing is where all of us are like, especially me lacking, like all of us are lacking. Like if you go to your first big event and you like get crushed, that doesn't mean you're bad. It's just, you got nerves you never had before. Like, I know you were telling me you're playing with somebody that you're like, it's like kind of on the echelon of players. Like I idolize players. Ryan Windsor's up there as one of the top, you know, players. And it's just, you shot awesome. I got to say, you shot really, really well. So I think you're being way too hard on yourself, but it's just crazy the tiers that you get to. But the only reason they got there is because how many times has Windsor been on TV, been on a stream, been playing against Jamie Graham and Matt Guy, been playing against, you know, like all these players. It's just like, he can play against anybody now. And he's like, well, I just got to throw back. I mean, it's like nobody else is untouchable at this point.
That's the deal. Been there, done that, right? You know, so it's like we all get nerves, right? But I feel like they come in different tiers of nerves. You know, like I walk up to Matt Guy, I'm going to be like, holy, dude, I'm playing next time. You know, like I could walk up to Chico. Chico's a great thrower in Minnesota. He's one of the best Minnesota throwers there is, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't get nervous like that, like I would against Matt Guy, because I've played Chico 100 million times, right? Mm-hmm. But the thing is like it's almost like you're kind of that's a process, man. Like that's where I'm not gonna lie to you, I have struggled with my nerves, and I haven't had this problem. I said since I probably first started, in the first couple I go to these bigger tournaments, and I feel your fingers are just kind of shaking. You got the jitters. So like when you're throwing, it's not nice and it's not a smooth release. You're kind of like double clutching almost. And you're second guessing. You're not playing your game.
Well, and 99% of the people that listen to this podcast are normal people like me and Corbin that go to blind draws and play events and whatnot. And talking about the tiers is really important, because when I started at my first 20 blind draws, I got the nerves playing against, you know, Andrew Cox and like some of these really good local players that like now I know I can hang with and we're good buddies and whatnot. But like that was like tier 1, right? Where you show up to a blind draw and you're like, oh, these are the really good blind draw guys and the good like local players. And I'm like, oh crap, I got to go shoot against him. Then you start to like compete against them. And then you go to your local bring your own partner doubles tournament where Juan and Chico show up or some of these other teams show up. Then you get put in your place there and you're like, okay, I can compete against, like, you got to compete against them. And then maybe you go to a Triple Crown and you're like, oh, now the people are coming out of town, you compete against them. There's so many tiers. And I think being a rookie, especially, you can speak to where it's like, I think we see all these people on TV that have been doing it for so long and just think it's like, oh, once you get to that point, you just get, but like, there's still stepping stones in the ACL too. Like there's people that are coming in, there's people that have maybe made their first broadcast and then got super nervous, but the next time they're going to get it. And then there's people that have been on broadcast for years and they don't care anymore. Right. So it's just all about dealing with that.
I 100% agree with that too. Because have I been on podcast before? Yeah, absolutely. I have. I've played in big tournaments. I've won. I've hit big shots and clutch moments and stuff like that. But I'll go back to like my first Open, and it was out in Rapid City, and I played. I started off. I was like 3-0 or 4-0 in my bracket, and I ran into Nate Boyer, and we got put on the K9 unit main stage. He beat me 21-0. I went back and looked at him like, I didn't really throw that bad. I gave up 1 here, 2 there, 1 there, 2 there, 2 there, 2 there, 1 there. I'm just like, I had shots that I hit and the bags just didn't fall. Wally even said on there, like, oh my gosh, he's hitting the shots. He's just not getting paid here, boys. And it was true. But it gets to be frustrating. And I was, it's nerve wracking. It's like you said, you took that next step up. And now I hope the next time that I get up on there that, hey, you know what? I've been here before. Let's go play your game, focus, and just got to kind of do your thing, man. It's tough.
Well, I think it's really important that you went back and watched that game and realized it's like, I didn't shoot bad. I got 1, a 2, a 2. Because I think it's very easy to be results oriented in this game, where it's like you go to a tournament and maybe you go 2-2 and you were expecting that you should have beat these couple teams or something, or you lose 21-0 and you're like, man, I got crushed. Well, when you watch it, you're like, well, I competed with them fine. I mean, you get him on a different day where the bags are falling and stuff, it could be 21-0 the other way, where it's just like you can compete. But especially when you're coming up, I think that building your confidence with that, knowing like, oh, I competed that whole game. The score doesn't show it, but like, it's not like I was outclassed or anything,
right?
Which I think is important.
And that's the other thing too, is it's the confidence of getting those first couple points. Because let's just say, what if I had the first throw right off the bat? Okay. Now he's chasing a little bit, and I'm getting the 1, I'm getting the 2, I'm getting the 1, I'm getting, and he gets those bad breaks, like you said. It could have been easily the other way around. He's a great player, but I know what I'm capable of too, and I know I can play with him too. So, but it's just getting that first. Sometimes getting that, it's so important to have that first bag just to set the tone.
We talked about this last week on the podcast. We said like, if you have first bag, or like, and I said too, if it goes block and you hit the first airmail, and now they have to hit an airmail behind you, that airmail is 10 times harder than your airmail was, because if they miss, they're down 3. If you miss, you're like, well, I'm still up 3. It's such a different mentality that having that first bag we talked about is one of the most important things in the game, is just making sure that every shot that they're throwing is to match you, not to put the pressure on you.
Right. Well, I'm going to tell you this, just from experience from just this last week when Ryan and I, right, we were playing against Glover and Duke to go to the championship.
Yep.
And, I can't remember what happened. Ryan gave up. God, he gave up 4. Almost was 5, but the bag just stuck on the backside of the hole. Like, I can't believe it. If it was an RNA, it would have fallen off. But it was a little bit slower side of that Typhoon. It stuck half on, half off, and it put him at 20. And we were sitting at 15. Next time down, I've got 1 in, 2 around the hole. Glover's got 1 in and 3 on. So I can shoot an airmail, and if I hit the airmail almost absolutely perfect, I can take 6. I can drag my other 2 in and my bag, and now we win 21-20. I took a timeout. Windsor's telling me to shoot it. And I'm like, bro, if I miss, like, we lose. Like, we're done. And I'm like, I think I can slide this up and in, and I can take 4, and it'll be 2019, and we're still live, and you're throwing now. Like, I believe in you. We're going to be fine. If I get it back to you, that's like my whole thought this weekend was, man, just don't mess up enough. Just get it back down to that dude. He's got me.
Just let Ryan shoot.
Hey, you want me to, I'll be a backpack all day. Hey, I'll just get him right back onto you. So we talked about it. He's like, all right, slide him in then. And came back, slid him in, took 4. So now we went from 20 to 15. And now we're at 2019. Very next round, Duke's got to hit an air. He's got last bag now, right? He has to hit the airmail to stay alive. And he shoots off the back. Now we win 21-20. Who knows? Maybe I would have hit that shot and that would have looked super cool. But I also didn't want to be that guy like, my gosh, just get it back to Ryan. What are you doing, dude? Like, take the points if you can, especially against these good guys, right?
Oh, yeah. Take the points when you can.
Hard to come by. Take them.
Yeah.
You can take a point. take a point. You can take 2 points, take your 2 points. Like, you have to take the points when you can get them, period.
And I think that's another really important lesson for any of you guys listening to and that's why I think it's really important to record your gameplay and watch it back, because it's a lot of time, like let's say you lose a game 21-19, right? You're like, dang, that was a really close game. I should have had it. When you go back and watch the video, you're like, all right, that was kind of a dumb airmail. I went for a cut here. I didn't block behind. I should have just taken my one. And then you see all these little rounds where they were 8-8 washes that you could have had 10-8. They were 6-6 washes where you should have had 8-6 or 10-6 even. And then you realize, like, I lost 21-19, but I left 6 points because I wanted to play unnecessarily aggressive or do things I didn't need to do. That, like, these points, and granted, blind draw is a little different. You can go for some different shot, but in these tournaments, like, the 1s and 2 points matter a lot. I mean, yes, it helps to get a huge 6, but if you got 2 points in first bag, you're getting a little momentum back. I mean, that's way more, because if you go for that airmail and let's say you just hit it on the board and you wash or something, you hit it on the board and wash. Well, now Glover goes, we washed that round? Oh, man. And now he's confident again.
I'll take it. Right.
Yeah. He's like, oh, sweet. Like, then the next round you come down, you don't know if he's confident. I'm like, I didn't just give up a 4, I washed. And you take that 4. If you would have got the next bags back, like say Ryan washes and it's 2019 you're like, I just put a 4 on this guy. Like, I'm not missing. And he's like, I just put left 3 on the board. You know, it's such a different mindset that is so important.
Dude, the mental part of this game, people don't. I think the people that have been playing long enough understand. But I still think, obviously, I'm still learning on it, man. The mental part of it, man, it's tough. Like, I feel like at the beginning of my rookie year so far, obviously we're just going to start getting into where, you know, we're going to be going to nationals. I'm going to be playing in a couple more opens, and some of these other big tournaments and stuff. But it's just, I don't know, man. I was focusing on, I don't want to say it's not the wrong things because it's part of the process, right? But I'm like getting these shirts and these hoodies, and I'm the only one I'm taking the orders. I'm writing down, all right, Eddie wants this, and he wants it in white with the pink and this size. Is he paid? Is he not paid? And then I'm turning that order in, and then I'm getting them all. And now I'm like bombarded with like 10 boxes of hoodies and t-shirts. I'm like, oh my God, now I got to go back and, all right, so this guy ordered this one and this size. And so now I'm like focusing on stuff, you know, yes, this is helping me to be able to afford to travel to do this stuff, right? But it's taken away from me really putting the time in, the extra time that I need to focus on my game and work on my game. Mm-hmm. And I'm stressing about, okay, I got to go talk to this guy about the sponsorships here, or got to go do this. And I feel like I can't be the only one, especially us rookies. No. Some of these other guys that have been doing it for a few years, they've got their sponsors already locked up from the year before or the 2 years before. It's sign a new deal, you're good to go, right? But for all of us new guys and gals, I just think it's draining. It's been tough, but I quit.
It's his daughter next to him.
I just want to quit.
No, I feel you too. And me and Corbin talk about it all the time. But like, you know, we spent like me and Corbin the last couple of months, because it's been cold and we can only play indoor events. You know, we're finally just. We're only really throwing the bags that we want to throw, and we're just playing events and trying to actually play good cornhole right now. Before this, I'm recording videos, I'm editing, I'm doing vlogs, I'm doing merch and jerseys, I'm doing bags and all this other stuff. Same what you're saying is like, at the end of the day, when I go outside, I have so many bags after review. I don't even throw the bags that I throw. I'm throwing. And like you said, it's so hard to go from carpet to a game changer. Well, I'm doing that I'm throwing 6 sets of bags. I'm throwing a 8-10 with a 4-6 carpet, you know, just back to back, trying to like break them in. And it's so hard to like get any consistency without putting the time in.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing too is, you know, Whitney and I are playing, we're partners, right? And I think the one thing that is so important is just team chemistry. Can you like be there for your partner in a way that like relates to them? You know, like, are they a big rah-rah and they like you talking a little bit while they're throwing, you know, or are they just kind of like, they just want to sit there, not really say a whole lot, don't show a whole lot of emotion, you know? I feel like, I don't know, we've only played once with each other so far. But she's been pretty, that I remember that turn, you know, when we did play, she just like, if I'd have a bad game or bad shot, dude, you're totally fine. Mm-hmm. Like, she made me feel good for missing and stuff at times. I'm like, my goodness, you're being too nice to me. Like, just tell me to figure it out and get him in the hole.
Well, and that's how many years did you play with the same partner that maybe that was what he would have said to you. So you're like, I need you to tell me to stop being terrible. Like that's what I'm used to. Right. And my doubles partner, like, you know, I the reason chemistry is so important, I see him stop following through. I can tell he's getting nervous and doing stuff. And then I'll take a timeout and just be like, dude, just throw the bag. Like you're not throwing the bag. I can see you not throwing the bag. And then he'll just reset and all of a sudden 10 times better. Right. But it's
boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. But it's knowing that your partner needs this right now. Or like, and I am a big rah-rah guy, right? Which is why the big blind draw, we did pretty well because the guy I was shooting with was like big rah-rah guy. And he missed an airmail. I'm like, shoot the next one. Like, you know, because I knew he needed that to get pumped up. And
well, let me tell you something here real quick. When I, you know, Ryan and I are partnered up, like I put a lot of pressure on myself, right? Like I'm trying not to, but I'm like, okay, Ryan Windsor is there's a few people that are in Ryan Windsor's class, right?
Yeah.
And I'm still kind of trying to work my way up. I have a long ways to go, and I understand that. But I kept saying to myself, okay, if I can play up to my abilities, maybe this will be an opportunity for me to play with them in the future. Or maybe it'll be an opportunity to where I'm looking for somebody and he talks to one of his boys. Hey, dude, I played with Matt Ryan out at Triple Crown. Played great. You know, like if I didn't have a partner, I'd partner up with them. Mm-hmm. You know, so recommendations, right? But I just kept thinking to myself, my God, you know, like I need to play good. I need to play good this weekend, man.
But you're putting all this weight on yourself though, you know?
Yeah. I started off and it was a little slow and I wasn't throwing very well. And then I told Ryan, I said, okay, like Ryan's a super quiet dude. Mm-hmm. Doesn't say a whole lot. You know, he just drill, you know, like they just are kind of mute. It looks like they just don't say a whole lot, which is totally fine. That's just the way they play. Right. But like, again, when Stu and I play, like, come on, man, let's go. You know, you got this, you know, like, and I feel like for me, when I talk a little bit during the match, it kind of releases some of my nerves.
That's me.
Okay. Kind of a thing for me where it just kicks the nerves out of me, where if I sit there and I'm quiet, I can just, the nerves are just like building, dude. And I can't throw and I'm overthinking. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to start talking or something. So I told Ryan, say, hey man, I'm gonna have a couple more drinks here and I'm starting to feel pretty good. Like I'm going to probably start talking just a little bit. Hey, do whatever you got to do, man. I'm like, all right. So then towards, you know, started playing and I started kind of getting to be his little cheerleader. Come on, Ryan, let's go. You got this, you know? And like, but that helped. That was more for me than it was for him.
Sure.
I need to get that off my chest. And I'm like, you know, I think I think that, and that did, it helped me with my nerves a lot throughout the games, especially then once we got back on the K9 page and stuff. Like, obviously there's times I wish I would have maybe thrown a little better, but I think we all have that. But
well, and I stopped you too after one of your games because I actually was talking to Windsor after one of your games and I was like, Windsor, how you guys playing? And he's like, and his first response was, you know, I'm just not shooting the best, but I'll get it. And then, and this is after that you told me that you really wanted to shoot good with him. And I pulled you aside after one of your games and I was like, dude, I just asked Windsor, like, how you guys are shooting. Cause you were upset you guys lost the game or you weren't shooting good or something. And I was like, Windsor's first response is like, I need to shoot better. So I was like, he's not even thinking about you. Like, and I think that's what people misunderstand is like when Matt Guy misses a shot and he's pissed at himself. Like, you know, like they're so much more focused on their playing because I think when you've been playing for long enough, you're like, I can do what I can do and they're going to do what they're going to do, but I can't control that, you know, like it's not my fault if, you know, so I was telling you, I was like, just get it, bro. Like he believes in you, you know?
Yeah. Dude, telling you that was an experience. That was so fun. And that was, my goodness. Like listen to this. Ryan Windsor was my second option. What? How dumb does that sound? I was supposed to be playing with John Fuentes. Something come up and he wasn't able to make it. And then here comes Ryan sitting in the wings. I'll partner up with you. I'm like, what?
I didn't know that was an option.
Okay. Yeah. Hell, really? Like you really want to do that? And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I'm like, all right, this dude's he's going to no-show on me. And here he is. I'm like, oh my gosh, let's go. You know? And you know, he stayed with me this weekend. We had a good time. I feel like we kind of built a little bit of a relationship. And yeah, heck yeah, man. I'm a huge fan of Ryan Windsor now.
He's
you know,
really cool guy.
I've looked at him before, but I never didn't know him really. And I'm still trying to get to know him. Dude's a good dude, really good dude, super chill. Enjoyed every second that we hung out this weekend. So that was great.
Well, Corbin, you want to go into like what it's like being a pro and like travel and stuff upcoming and everything?
Yeah, Peanut lets me, man. She's on another level again today.
Right next to
her. Yeah, she's playing with sand or whatever. Yeah, so I mean, we kind of touched on this. I mean, I just kind of want to go into it a little bit further. What is the hardest thing for you? Because you're saying the nerves and the consistency. So if you had to pick one, which is harder for you to dial in, like controlling your nerves or being consistent throughout the day when you're kind of starting to get fatigued and it's been a long day?
Yeah, I'd probably say the consistency, honestly. Like, okay. It just depends though. Honestly, it kind of bounces back and forth because there's times where it's like I start playing real well and I don't have as many nerves. And then all of a sudden it's like, where did those come from? Like, what just happened? And like you said, but everything, there's different things that factor into it. Like, who am I? Like, I wasn't nervous this game, but now I'm nervous this game. Is it because I playing somebody better or somebody that I haven't played before and I'm unsure of like what's going on? And then like the consistency part of it is it's sometimes the boards, right? Like, I hate to be that person.
It can be though.
But dude, like you'll go to one set of boards and they played perfect. Throw those same, you feel like you're throwing the exact same way and they're just either zipping right off or they're sticking but yeah, sometimes board to board play, or maybe it's just a weird lighting on the board. Sure. It's hitting like a reflection on the board. And it's like, okay, from this side, you can't really see it, but you come over on my side of the board, there's a huge glare on the board, man. Like, and I hate to be like, and I don't like, doing that stuff. I'm like, sometimes it's the reality of it,
It definitely does stuff. I mean, this weekend we just played, we got lucky enough that at least almost all the boards that they had were like new, same exact boards. So they're all pretty slow, but the stream court, I wonder if it's because like nobody was breathing over there and standing. There wasn't really a crowd. That board was double the speed of the sideboards. The stream court, at least for me, when I was playing on the stream court, I was like, wow, this is way faster than that. I was throwing like Pro Sniper Costellos on the sideboards. I'm throwing Surefires on the main boards because I was like, my bags are flying off the back.
Yeah. No, for sure, man. So that's the part is being able to adjust to the boards quick because
it's got to be quick.
You play against somebody that's like knows what the heck they're doing, and it taking you a couple rounds to kind of get used to the boards, and you look up, I'm down 8-0 already, and we haven't even already started. And then now you're pushing. You're right. You're maybe having to try to take a shot that you don't want to do just to try to get on the board or get, like we talked about, get that first throwback or, there's tons of different things that come in that factor that. So it's kind of, I don't know if I answered it. Nerves, maybe.
You did.
I guess, it's
no, you're good. You're good.
Sometimes. Yeah. So,
yeah. So this one always gets me. I like this question a lot for a lot of pros. What is the big difference for you between an advanced player and then taking that step up into being pro? Like, because there's a lot of really, really good advanced players, but what really pushes you into that pro level?
Yeah, that's a good question because sometimes I kind of think that for myself, I feel like I'm still struggling with that. I'm like right on that border. Maybe, I've got that pro status, sure, right? But I know that there's a lot of can like that separate them. And like you said, obviously consistency is the one. Yep. I think Anthony Aon was talking about that, let's say, at your best, you're hitting a 11 average, right? And then you're not so best. You're still hitting like a 9 or 9.2, 9.3, right? Well, it's not much of a difference. Whereas like, let's say I'm sitting at like maybe a 10.5, but then like when I go down into my low, well, if I'm shooting like a 7.5 or an 8, it's just a bigger gap. So the ups and downs.
Sure.
And
I think that's a really good way to put it. I've never thought of it that way. Is the pro level is like who has the best worst.
Yes.
Right.
Who is best at their worst? Because if you're still beating people at your worst, then like I think that's the difference too. You can play against Ryan Windsor at his worst and he'll still skunk you, right? Like yeah. And all a lot of the pros you're talking about will. And so that's an interesting way to put it. I like that like the best, like to get into that pro level is your worst has to be better than other people's bests.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And it's just, man, it's playing smart. We talked about Yeah, I think some of these guys just taking points when you can get them, and don't try to be too flashy at times. Sometimes they just, that Airmail and one is sitting right there. Let's go. Bro, maybe I should have done that and just put it on, or maybe you just slide it in, or because it just, the swings, the momentum in within the game so big, and it's just be consistent for 20, 30, 40 rounds sometimes if you're, in a knockout fight, right? You just you just have to you just got to play smart.
Yeah, and I love that you bring that up, because I've been kind of pushed into this mentality lately, because everyone wants to make those flashy shots, right? You want to make the cool stuff. You want to get your 5 points. You want to do whatever. But I've had situations lately where they got 3 in, 1 off. I already have 2 in and 1 hanging on the back of the hole. My first instinct is shoot that Airmail. And I have to ring it. I have to pull it back and say, no. If I shoot that Airmail and miss, they're getting 2 points. Said, if I shoot it and miss and get lucky, we're washing. Why don't I just slide it in? If I get lucky, I'll get my 3. If I don't, I'm getting 1. I still retain first throw. Let's get a point and go on.
Yeah. See, in Corbin, I'm so different because I just don't miss that shot. So.
Okay. Okay.
Don't fool us, right?
Yeah. Come on.
I
mean,
Mr. 23 for 24.
I understand the mentality if you don't make it every time. I get that.
Oh, it's going to be so much sweeter when I beat you.
But I also wanted to ask this question too, especially you being a game changer thrower, fastback thrower. So, like, is there any style of player you really just dislike to play against? Whether it's they take a lot of time in between every throw, they block every single time, they want to go hole for hole. Like, is there a certain player that you match up to and you're like, oh, this is tough for, like, this isn't the matchup I look for?
What do you want me to just give my secrets away so people can really start my butt now, or what, dude? Come on, I'm already got an 8-ball on this.
All right, yeah. So you love playing against every player. There's no weaknesses here.
0 weaknesses. I'm a pro, right? Come on, I can do it all.
There we go.
No, you know what? Like, at first, I felt like some of the slower guys that just like took their time to throw, and it just
they flip it like 50 times, and you're
you know how you catch yourself sometimes, you're kind of looking like, dude, you're up, right? And then oh my gosh, like, we're gonna have one of these days, right, Nate Boyer? But anyway, no. But honestly, then there's been times where they've gone slow like that, and it's kind of helped me at times too. I'm such a rhythm thrower, but sometimes it going too dang fast. It's like, come on, Maddie. Like, I've had people come up to me. I'm like, hey man, you see me going too fast? Like, even I don't care if it's in the middle of the game, you get my attention and be like, dude, just come on now, settle down just a little bit. Like, you're going way too fast. Sit there and think about it. And that's what Ryan told me. He's like, that last bag, he's like, you guys, like, the board people, half these people in 3/4 of these people in here, like, that bag's not hardly even done moving. They're already stepping up throwing. Give it a second, or you give it a couple, 2, 3, 4 seconds.
I catch people all the time off of that, because, like, my partner, for example, really, really fast rhythm thrower, and when we're playing against each other, I'll throw a third bag blocker, and he'll already be in his backswing, and then he'll stop and look at me like, really? Like, I was already ready to slide it in. I'm like, well, we got to figure out the status of the game here. I knew you were going to do that. It's like, but there is a lot of people. I mean, I was telling Corbin, I want to make a video of, like, stereotypes where there's the bag flip guy who waits like 20 minutes, and then the guy who's staring at you waiting to throw because he's so antsy he wants to go. But it is true. Yeah.
Well, and this is the deal. You know what I've tried to do to slow myself down is leaving 3 bags on the board and picking the one up, throwing 1 bag at a time. Where I got to bend down, pick up, bend down. I did that for a while, and I did that for probably a year and a half, and then I quit, and then I kind of picked it up again for a few more months, and I just kind of quit doing that again here recently. I started picking them all back up again. I just have to have it in myself just to slow the heck down, man.
And Corbin's a 4 on the board, pick up 1 at a time guy. And I do that when I play against teams that I think are better than me. Like, when I play Juan and Chico, I leave them on the board because I force myself to, like, because my first instinct every time is I'm going to throw a cut. I'm going to throw this. I'm going to do that. Like I instantly, like I see him, where his bag's going, and my mind's already like, I already know what I'm going to do. Where like when I play against a better team, sometimes like, all right, take the extra second, make sure that's the right shot before you just chuck the bag, you know, because I think that's important to make sure that you know what you're doing. Especially when I'm playing against people that I feel like I need to get the 2 points. I'm like, all right, smarter is better than faster now.
Yeah, for sure, man.
And then I guess a little bit on being a rookie, right? So like where are the areas that you think you need to still improve on? Like when you're going out to practice, like, is there a certain, like, are you like, all right, I need to work on this. My push is lacking. Like what are the things that's kind of come out of the woodwork after you've played this level of players? You're like, wow, this is not where I thought it was.
Yeah. I mean, I know I need to work on my push bags. Hitting them a little more square, hitting them, you know, I talked to Ryan about that this week. I'm like, man, I struggle pushing sometimes. I hit it, especially with the faster bag, right? It hits and it deflects. Yeah. That one I'm hitting will hit and it'll go in, but my other bag won't follow it in. It'll maybe go left, kick right. What do I got to do? He's like, you got to hit almost basically the bag and the board at the same time. Oh, I'm like, sure. So what are you looking at? Are you like picking a spot on the bag, or are you picking a spot on the board you're throwing? Like, what are you doing? You know, because wide open board, I look at the hole. I think there was somebody had a poll question on that. I think I saw earlier today or something. Like, do you pick a spot on the board to throw at, or do you look at the hole? And when I first started, I used to pick a spot on the board. And now I look on the back side of the hole. I'm laser focused on that back side of the hole. But now I think maybe where I've lacked is when I'm throwing to push, I'm not really looking at that bag. I'm just still trying to throw my normal bag and just, you know, hitting it. And I think I need to start. That's what I'm working on right now. I guess, I don't know. I think maybe I start picking a spot on the bag and starting to hit.
And that is really, I mean, interesting that you say that, because I obviously started with Game Changers. I've always liked faster bags. Now I've moved on to, I throw mostly like Surefires, like 5-speed bags. Like I like cutting and pushing and all that kind of stuff. But I used to look at the hole too. And then I think with the faster bags, you kind of get to the rhythm where you're like, I just throw this type of bag every single time. I throw it here every single time. It's so much muscle memory that like when you have to do shots that are outside, whether it's a step out, I think a lot of faster bag players struggle with the step out because it's a completely, like, you're breaking this thing, this muscle memory, this thing that you have, right? And
this is when you step out, that board shrinks.
Yeah, because now you have this much of the whole board. Yeah.
The board shrinks, like, and you have to hit. I feel like you have to hit deeper on the board, and it depends on bag placement and everything else, right? But like, people don't understand, you cannot throw your same bag like you would and straight onto the board. Like when you're stepping out, depending on how the further you step out, the smaller the board gets.
Yeah,
and chance for error. Because how many times do you see people, they step out and what do? Nope,
miss off the right side. Yep.
Board. You know, like, that's why, like, I always tell, like, some of these guys, you know, they'll stepping out. I'm like, hey, just come back in. Like, you don't need to just, and that's the other thing you got. Like, I know a lot of these guys are really good at bringing bags back in. I think there's like few of them that are elite at being able to, like, a bag has no business out of play and they bring it back in.
Eric Davis.
See that. And they're like, I can do that. So they're always chasing. Well, like Johnny Cox, he made a post today. Where were they at? 19 or 20 to 10. And he gave up an 11 and lost.
Oh, geez.
And that don't happen. Johnny is oh my God, he's a great thrower. But what happened is he stepped out, tried chasing that bag, tried chasing it again. And now he's off. Sometimes it's better. You know what? Leave that one, put your next 3 in. The worst you're going to do is give up 2.
Yeah. And I'm guilty of that. Like, cut collect's my favorite shot that exists. I love going for it. And I'm fairly decent at it. But my partner, for example, he really struggles stepping out. And I tell him all the time, I was like, if you miss one off the right, like, stop chasing, just finish. I was like, because like, you're only going to compound the issue. But I do it to myself all the time too. I think my big rounds are when I try to go fishing, you know, and you give up the big ones. But I think stepping out, in situational, but I think it's something that still needs to be practiced because there's a lot of benefits you can get from bullying and stepping out bags. But you need but you need to have those reps in. Like you can't try to step if you're someone who's like, because there's a lot of people I talk to like, oh, I just don't step out. I don't like stepping out. Well, if you're in a situation that you have to step out, that's what your brain is saying. You're like, I don't step out. I don't like stepping out. You need to get to the point you're like, I'm totally fine stepping out. I just don't do it unless I really have to. But you still know how to do it.
There's another example of what takes from advanced player to a pro level player is being able to be able to you as a pro. You can't say that you can't step out. What the hell you mean you can't step? You better start learning because it's huge. It is big, but you just have to, it's one of those things like you have to put the time in, you practice it, period. It's plain simple. It's just like anything else. Your airmails, you ain't going to just show up to the board and start hitting them. Like you have to put some time into when am I releasing the bag? Shouldn't be a whole lot different than your normal slide bag, but maybe releasing a little higher, a little harder throw. I don't know.
Well, and see where you look at for air or for your normal bags is how I look at airmails. I look at the reflection that goes in the back of the hole. That's what I stare at when I shoot airmails, because it makes me because my airmails are always 3 inches short. So I stare at I'm like, I'm going to hit that little glint of light, and that makes me finally actually throw it hard enough. But but how many hours of practice did I find before I realized, I could stare at this little glint of light? I went outside and threw 100 airmails in a row, and after I left 50 short, I was like, well, I got to figure something else out because this ain't working, but the time in. Yeah. A little bit. So let's go to your throwing style just a tad, because I think I didn't realize how high you throw it until I actually watched you play like this weekend. And like, because you're almost Damon Dennis high, like you're really high. And you got a step. Have you always stepped? Has that always been kind of your thing? Yeah.
That's, like I said, I my partner, and that's what he did. And that's what I did. I've tried not stepping for a while, and it just doesn't feel natural to me. So, and I always ask people, you want to try to eliminate as much movement as possible, right? That's probably true. But if it doesn't feel comfortable to you, like do what feels comfortable and adjust, work on that, work on getting it better. If you're a stepper, then just work on getting better with stepping, like Matt Guy steps and look how good he is.
Yeah. Optimize the step, at least if you're going to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like anything. You got your own technique, and you just work on your craft. That's all you're.
And I think one of the things you notice too with steppers in particular, I've been watching this a lot more, and it's when you see no steppers and carpet players in specific, Tyler Cobb, like they have these really big backswings and really around and whatnot. I think Samantha Finley is the only stepper that I see that actually has like a big swinging throw, because like when you say reducing movement, I think most steppers reduce movement by the arm swing. They're very straight back, straight through, very short swing, because you're getting a lot of the power from the step. You don't have to have this swinging backswing.
But you got all your momentum going forward and carrying it.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I do a little modeling follow through, because I think it's I used to be a stepper. I just changed recently, but I felt like with step I could follow through straighter, like at the hole very easily. So that's why I do the follow through thing. But again, it's finding those things. And Corbin and I both transitioned to standing still within the last 6 months, and it's just a process. But then it's putting in the hours doing that now. It took me, I went through a throwing slump of like 50 videos where I just sucked. But but that was part of the process.
Right.
So talk a little bit about Draggin Bagz. So I guess you said you joined them and whatnot, but when you've transferred around bags before, I guess duck cloth to Game Changers to these, like, do you think it took you a long time to get used to the way it felt and the bead and the size and what you were saying? You knew everything you could do with a Game Changer, right? Like you knew what the shots you had. Was that a hard process, or was the RNA a pretty easy transition?
I would say it's still a work in progress. I have people coming up to me all the time. They're like, "It seems like you're kind of struggling sometimes when you're throwing these." I'm like, well, maybe, I don't know. Like, I feel like I'm throwing okay, but yeah, I mean, like deep down, yeah, I mean, it is a little bit of a process, a little bit of a change. Maybe they, play a little bit different, obviously, but I just got to get the time in. I threw Game Changer strictly for 2 years. That's all I threw.
Sure.
I didn't even own a bag. I sold everything else. All I had was Game Changers.
So yeah. I'm glad we could finally be friends now that you're done with that stage in your life.
Good. No.
And I guess and then we'll move on a little bit to the Whitney Martinez thing as your doubles partner going into this ACL rookie year. How did that combination kind of happen? I know, and now since then she's done a couple of the TikToks. You guys have been doing fun stuff, but like, were you friends beforehand? Was it just like, hey, we're both rookies? Like,
we actually I met her for the first time at our Deadwood tournament out in Deadwood, South Dakota. We have like this South Dakota, Colorado Cup thing that we play for, and we keep team points. And now Minnesota's starting to get into it. And we used to have Arizona and now New Mexico, getting a bunch of people. There was a ton of teams out there. I think there was like 118 random draw teams earlier this year. Anyways, her and I were both out there. We chatted very little, we talked a little bit, introduced ourselves, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I had actually, Gino Delicia from Colorado, him and I had talked about partnering up. But he had signed with Ultra and he was kind of looking for another Ultra player to play with. And he was like, well, I was talking to, Whitney and I had been talking to, and I know she's looking for a partner. And well, maybe hit her up, see what's up. I'm like, all right. Yeah, no, I guess I don't really know a whole lot about her, and I said, all right, let's just give her a shot. I hit her up and I was like, hey, how's it going? And that's just basically, I'm like, would you be interested in wanting to partner up this year? And she's like, oh my gosh, absolutely. I'm like, dude, all right, cool. Like, did we just become best friends? She's like, yep. I'm like, okay.
Do you want to do karate in the garage? Yep.
But I'm like, we gonna, I suppose we're going to be doing some type of TikTok. I'll think of something, she says. So
that was the Darth Vader thing, or the,
did you see our TikTok that we did together?
Yeah, the one where it's like where you got to call a partner or something, and then that was good.
It was pretty good. So yeah, now so I'm ready, man. I just wish that her and I could play in a couple more of these opens before the national and stuff, but it just didn't happen. A lot of them it makes it tough to get to them, especially her and I, we don't get to practice together. We're 9-11 hours away from each other. So
sure. And do you feel like with her being with Swag and you Draggin, do you feel like the bags she normally throws can kind of fit in with your play style a little bit? I know you said that she throws the Draggin with you in doubles and whatnot, but do you feel like that's similar to what she throws, or is that something you guys are trying to lock in?
That I'm not 100. To be totally honest with you, I'm not 100% sure what type of Swag bags she throws, if they're slower, faster, whatnot. I think she likes maybe a little bit slower of a bag, but when she threw the RNAs, she's like, well, those actually felt like perfect speed and everything for me. I think, and I feel bad for her because I think it's going to be a little more of a change, like I'm going to be throwing the same bags probably all day long, right? Singles, double, or all weekend long, whatever, or she's going to be kind of switching back and forth. So that might be, she's going to be throwing in women's, and she's throwing Swag, or, cause she's with Yeti and Yeti throws Swag. So they're going to be throwing that in women's. And then if, singles, she's going to be throwing Swag, and then doubles, she's going to switch over and throw Draggin. And I trust her. She says she can do it. She ain't can be. So I'm like, well, all right. And we'll see how it goes.
And then I guess practicing, right? So you're like me. It's cold, really cold. so how much practice are you getting in? And if you are, is it just mostly blind draws and events, or are you actually getting just actual practice in?
Well, this is the deal. We have probably 3 nights a week during the week that we can throw. I can also set up in my house and throw, but I can only throw from the ones I can't play against anybody. That's my fault. But at least I can get the reps in, and I got my ceilings high enough where I can set up. Yeah, you
do need high ceilings.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I got vaulted ceilings, so I have never. I think I kind of lucked out. I don't end up ever hitting the ceiling at all. So luckily for that, but so I can do that in my house a little bit. The only downfall is you just can't practice with anybody, and like stepping out is a little bit tough in my place, just because I've got a kitchen island I'm trying to work around, or I got to move my couch kind of over at a little bit of an angle to, so I can step out from the one side and all that. But it's good enough for that. But when I do go to these blind draws or league and stuff, I always make sure to try to stay late or come early, just that way I can get that, 15, 20, 30 minutes of just good practice or whatever I need to.
Well, and that's another tough part about being from this area where we said we're like 10 years behind in our areas. And because for damn near 6.5 months a year, we can't even go outside. So it's like, and so finding an area that, I mean, hope you got a friend with a pole barn, that's great, good for you. But I mean, these guys in North Carolina, Florida, Louisiana, it's like they just go outside every day. They can throw whenever they want, all the time, all day if they want. And we just don't get that luxury. So I think that's definitely one of the biggest barriers to entry in our areas in general. At least in Corbin's area, it's cold, but they have enough pros that there's a good amount of facilities, and every night of the week you could go to something if you really wanted to, because there's just so much going on. But I think our areas just haven't got to that point yet, haven't started catching up to that point yet. And I think once we finally get to that point is when you'll start to see all these random pros coming out, like especially younger people coming up and doing that.
Right. For sure, man. I agree 100% with you there. I've always kind of,
sorry,
what's that?
Good.
No, I've always thought about, I'm like, God, what would it take to, almost open like a small kind of like bar and grill where you can get, 10, 12 sets of boards in and have make it more of like a cornhole themed place, right? Where you have a bunch of like different, you manufacture bags, and you can order, pitch pads and boards or, score towers, any of this stuff. And you can host tournaments there, and people can come in. But it's like, how would you go about, like, you charge them like a season, a monthly membership, or is it,
That's how you do
I laugh because Corbin literally has an event center that's doing that, opening like right now. They're opening. It's a cornhole bar that has just.
They're opening boards. Probably next month. Yeah. Yep. They got 11 sets of boards. They got they got the bar. They got a ping pong room. They're going to run tournaments. They're going to have leagues. They're going to have monthly memberships. They're going to have challenge lanes. You can go and
play whenever you want.
Yeah. You get a membership, you can go play whenever you want. If you want to rent a lane, they're going to offer that for non-members. Come rent a lane for an hour or two with some buddies, throw some bags. Different sort of challenge lanes. Winner stays, loser walks. It's just
like they're having a ton of that.
Hey, who wants to come in with me? Come to South Dakota. Let's get going.
It takes a lot. I mean, it's a huge process. They've been jumping through a ton of hoops and stuff, but it's going to be so amazing once it's open, and everyone in my area is just thrilled. I mean, even in the summer, it's too hot, it's too rainy, it's whatever. It's great. That's the deal.
It's new, and there's nothing like that around here. So people be like, talk to it. What is this? And I think it would also get more people that maybe we aren't reaching to play bags, through social media and stuff around town. Like, we have a ton of people in Sioux Falls area that I'm sure can play bags that just either don't know about it, or I don't know, but I think having like some type of little cornhole bar and grill to play, then, maybe get their attention, and I don't know, get more players out. That's all we're doing. The game, right? Well,
there's pool halls that exist, right? And all they do is they have pool tables where people go and play pool, and you put money down to, like, I play the winner, and it's a bar. And it's like, you're telling me that we can't set up cornhole boards?
All I have is bowling, right? Like maybe a couple pool tables here or there, and our dartboard. No different.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I'm a bowler, and bowling personally is dying with the younger generation right now. Like, nobody bowls really anymore, and especially in our age. I think that cornhole is like on the meteoric rise. I mean, just like
100%. Taking over. Take over bowling.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Buy an old bowling alley if you need to. But I'm saying, like, I think that is going to be the next step in cornhole outside of just like, this town's doing this weekend's tournament and stuff. It's like, no, this is a place where, like, the best players in the state every day, there'll be blind draws every night. You can come rent a lane. There'll be, 10 boards for a tournament, 5 boards that are just like to practice on all the time. Like, I mean, something like that. And like then all the best players go there all the time. Like, that's how you foster a scene. Like, that's how you get everyone playing.
Yeah, 100%, man.
But, well, I'm glad that you have the idea, because me and Corbin, he literally went there to record his videos lately and stuff. Like, it's a sweet spot.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
But, well, 2020 season, so 2022 season. So obviously, we're in the open like time right now. The Nationals are about to start up here soon, so you're going to be going to all the Nationals and doing all that kind of stuff. What's the rest of the season looking like? Are you going to be trying? Is this like you want to play every weekend and all the other tournaments you can find locally and be traveling more? I mean, what does this look like for you for this 2022 year?
Yeah, man, I'm playing as much as I can. This is the deal. I've got 2 daughters, right? I've got a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old. So they come first all the time, right? Family first. And it's just been tough, like after, I went through my separation and stuff, and I had 50-50 with my kids, and their mom moved about a little over an hour away. And now I get them every other weekend. So I don't have that time. So I would say that's also part of what's getting me, on doing the pro deal, right? Was I actually now I have a little more time. Obviously, I don't have my kids every other week. It's just every other weekend. But then it also, like when I throw bags, it kind of helps me keep my mind off of those sites. It's like a stress reliever for me too. At the same time, kind of helps me, kind of escape reality for a little while. But yeah, so when I don't have my girls, man, I'm going to be trying to throw as much as I can. I know I have the potential. I just have to be disciplined with myself and put the time in and do that kind of thing to, make myself like best player I can be. Cause I've got a lot of people that are rooting me on around here. I know a lot of people, that kind of maybe wishing to see me fail too. There's people are always like that, right? People are haters everywhere, and that's fine. That's totally fine. You know what? That adds more fuel to the fire. But like, I'm always more worried about letting everybody else down than myself. Like, obviously I'm going to be harder on myself than anybody else. But I don't want to let, whether it's my sponsors or, like my girlfriend, or I've got friends that are like, dude, you are so good. Like, man, you make me feel good, and you make me feel like I'm a lot better than what I actually am. Like, you think that I'm like so good. I'm like, you just don't even realize so, but at the same time, it's like, I know the potential is there. I just have to be able to pull it out and keep it there for a long period of time and then work on it. And you get you got to put the time in, man. If you put the time in, everybody can get better. So,
well, Corbin, you got any other questions?
No, my attention was diverted as per usual, man. We might have to start doing these after she goes to bed.
All right, man. Well, you got any shout outs you want to do?
Hey, man. Yeah. Brad Anderson, 701 Cornhole Company. He's one of my sponsors. Awesome dude. Makes great boards, pitch pad boards. He's got trophies. He does all those types of things. Go check that out on Facebook. And I don't know, Jersey guy, Matty King, obviously, Draggin Bagz. Go check those out. Get yourself a set of RNAs or double dragons.
Are you going to be doing anything else with the merch in the future, possibly?
Man, I don't know. Like I didn't, when I started doing these hoodies, I was just going to do t-shirts. And I had people asking, what about hoodies? You want to do hoodies? I'm like, I don't know. I was just going to do t-shirts. I don't even know. So I ordered 100 t-shirts. And I'm like, I'm probably never going to sell these. They sold out in 12 days. And then I sold 73 hoodies on top of it. So I'm like, all right, well, I got people asking me for them again. So then I did another order, sold a bunch more again. I did one more order on just because the company I went through, they forgot to make one or whatever. And so then I did one more smaller order. But now after going to some of these other tournaments and stuff, I've got people asking me about it and stuff again. So yeah, I think I'm going to have to, how can I turn it down? It'd be silly for me to do that.
Hey, well, I got to say, they're really nice. The design is awesome. Stan did this, right?
Yeah. Stan did the logo with ink. Yep. He did my for me.
Yeah, he killed it with the design. But, well, if you decide to do a merch shop, make sure you get that on Facebook, because I think a lot of people would enjoy supporting an up-and-comer man. And
yeah. Hey, people, they can hit me up on Facebook, too. Hit me up in Messenger if they are interested in something like this. I can maybe I'll do another run of hoodies and t-shirts, and maybe just do like the one color, the black and the blue seemed like was a huge seller. I saw you got the pink and white one, which is awesome too. And, but yeah, for sure, man, I'd be totally down with doing that. It's real nice material too. It ain't the cheap stuff. It ain't no Hanes. So,
well, really appreciate you hopping on and talking to us for a while here. I think a lot of people I think you're in that transition period where I think a lot of people that listen to our podcast and our content in general are trying to get to, which is like, I'm doing really well in my blind draws. I'm doing what does it even take to be there? And just seeing somebody else is like, hey, that's where you came from. You've been doing it for like 6+ years. And the fact that it's like, all right, you're trying to do it. You realize there's a lot of room to grow, but like you got to put in that work and do it. So I think, if you're someone listening to this, you want to do it, like you can do it if you put in the work, it's out there. You just have to be consistent. And
100%. Just you put the time in, man, and good things will come. You have to stay patient. You're not going to always have good days, because it's the valleys and lows and highs and lows, man. But eventually good days will come. You have a couple bad weeks of throwing, and it's frustrating and you're like, God, just quit. And it's like, no, just, you know what? Sometimes the best thing to do, put the damn bags away for a week or two. Don't even, just walk away, come back and just pick it up and you damn, all right, I'm doing not too bad. Sometimes you just have to do that. Maybe you just have to put the bag down for a few days and just take a break.
All righty. Well, appreciate you stopping by. It was really nice to talk to you. I think it's a lot of relatable info in here and a lot of insight that I think me and Corbin were like, dang, that was some good insight, especially from someone who's kind of like me and Corbin's level of like stuff that we struggle with and decisions that we make and whatnot. So that was really, really fun. But everybody listening, appreciate you guys stopping by for another podcast. It's always fun being able to do these things and get some people on for you guys to listen to and get new opinions about. And we see the word pro player, but sometimes you don't see the person behind the pro. And I've hung out with Matt, really, really awesome guy, really fun to talk to. So I wanted to make sure we get him on here and really get his name out there because I think he's got a lot of big things coming. So appreciate all you guys listening, and we should catch you guys up in the next week. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.